Welcome to the deep dive. We sift through the sources to get you well-informed, fast. Today, we're looking at the Annapolis, Maryland region. It's got this really vast historical tapestry.
Oh, absolutely. It stretches way back. I mean, millennia before Europeans even arrived, then through all the colonial changes, right up to today, so many layers.
Exactly. And our mission here is to unpack three sort of distinct but connected areas: Cape St. John, Riva, and Parole. We want to pull out the key insights, maybe some surprising facts, just to help you get a quick grasp of their unique stories.
And how they fit into that bigger picture, yeah. We'll touch on the ancient roots, the colonial foundations, and how they've changed more recently.
So where do we start? Those ancient roots sound incredibly deep.
They really are. Anne Arundel County, I mean, the archaeology there shows over 13,000 years of human life, continuous occupation. You got sites like Jug Bay Wetlands Sanctuary, amazing finds there, early spear points, middle archaic axes, that kind of thing.
13,000 years. Wow. And what about that point about agriculture starting later in the Chesapeake? Corn, beans. Why the delay, like compared to other places?
Well, it's pretty fascinating that Chesapeake Bay just offered this incredible natural abundance: oysters, fish, crabs, tons of wild resources.
Ah, okay. So they didn't need to farm quite as early.
Pretty much, yeah. They had what they needed. But that doesn't mean societies weren't complex. We see influence from trade, like with the Adena culture from the Ohio Valley.
Yeah.
And definitely by the 1500s, you've got evidence of, organized chiefdoms, palisaded villages.
Right. And specific First Nations.
Yeah.
The Piscataway and Pamunkey were central, yes.
Very central. The Piscataway Confederacy had really deep roots. But then European contact, John Smith in 1608, Leonard Calvert in 1634.
Yeah.
It follows that familiar tragic pattern.
Broken treaties, land taken away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it's also a story of incredible resilience, their efforts to preserve their heritage despite everything.
Okay. So moving from those deep roots, the colonial era, Annapolis itself, it wasn't always Annapolis, was it?
No, it started as Providence in 1649, a Puritan settlement, actually born out of religious conflict back in Virginia. It only became the capital around 1694, and Governor Nicholson gave it that distinctive Baroque street plan. Very ordered, very European.
And then that fire, 1704, the State House burns down, taking all the land deeds with it.
Yes. Imagine the chaos. It completely reset property records, basically. A huge headache for tracing ownership back then. But the city still grew, fueled by tobacco and, well, the wealth generated through the slave trade, which is obviously a deeply problematic part of that prosperity. That headright system really locked in dependence on enslaved and indentured labor early on.
Okay, let's zoom in. How did this play out in those specific neighborhoods we mentioned? Cape St. John.
Right, Cape St. John. Interesting past. Before it became the residential area we know, post-World War II, it was actually a Boy Scout camp.
A Boy Scout camp? Really?
Then, around 51 to 53, it developed into housing. Classic post-war boom, more people, more cars needing suburbs. Now it's known as a water-privileged community.
Okay, and Riva, what's its story?
Riva started more rural. Part of it, Sylvan Shores, was an antebellum slave plantation run by the Peach family. And there was a little village called Taylorsville, too.
Named after President Taylor.
That's the one. Then this developer, Carl Riddick, had a vision in 1929 for summer homes. And get this, some might have been Sears catalog homes.
Oh, the kid homes. Fascinating.
Yeah, those prefab houses you could order. So it went from plantation land and summer cottages to the suburban waterfront community it is today.
And finally, Parole. The name itself is significant, isn't it?
Hugely significant. It comes directly from Camp Parole, a really major Union prisoner of war exchange camp during the Civil War, 62-65. Clara Barton even worked there. But here's the really powerful part. When they dismantled the camp after the war, they repurposed the wood.
For what?
To build housing for freedmen, right there. It directly led to the formation of a self-sufficient African-American community.
Wow. So the community literally grew out of the remnants of the war camp.
Literally. By the 1880s, it was over 90% black. They built their own institutions, churches like Mount Olive AME, schools like the Stanton School, even a Rosenwald School later on, a really strong community core. It's faced challenges like urban renewal, but it's still a vital hub today.
Incredible stories layered on top of each other. How do we even know all this detail, especially with records lost in that fire?
Well, historical maps are gold mines. Martinet's 1860 map, Hopkins' 1878 atlas. They show landowners, railroad lines, how things were changing, plus public records that did survive, and even things like old newspaper ads. You see land sales like Charles Wallace trying to sell Annapolis lots in 1771, or a newspaper funding a whole development like Herald Harbor. They fill in gaps.
So you've got ancient indigenous life, colonial beginnings, the Civil War's impact, modern growth, all playing out in these distinct areas. It really shows the layers, doesn't it?
It really does.
So here's a final thought for you listening. What fascinating, maybe hidden stories might you uncover if you took a closer look at the layers of history in your own community? Even just down your street, you might really be surprised at the deep dive waiting just for you.